All right, what makes a great voiceover industry podcast? God knows there's a mess of them out there, but which ones are worth your precious time and attention? To me, a great voiceover industry podcast has to have three things. First of all, it has to be current. Man, this industry changes at light speed, and if your last episode was 6 months ago, or you kind of publish when you feel like it, well, you're probably not keeping the community up to date. Second, a good voiceover industry podcast has to be educational and insightful and provide valuable advice and insight to the industry. If you're chock-ing the thing full of Fiverr and get-rich-quick advice, it's just garbage. And finally, a great voiceover industry podcast has to be, for lack of a better term, listenable. The host or hosts have to be engaging and smart, and the guests have to be engaging and smart, and maybe even on occasion funny and entertaining. And most of all, the hosts, when they have guests, should let those guests talk. All right, so today I'm going to break down for you the top 14 voiceover industry podcasts, and in my humble opinion, all 14 of these, and by the way, in no particular order, meet those three criteria. We got a lot of ground to cover, so let's do it. All right, first up, the VO Breakfast Show with Karin Gilfrey and Jamie Muffett. Now, Karin, as you may know, is the vice president and one of the co-founders of NAVA, the National Association of Voice Actors. She's also the newly crowned VO of the Year, Female Voiceover of the Year at the recent One Voice Awards 2024. And Jamie is an accomplished voice actor and audio engineer. In fact, that's where he started his career and moved into voice acting through that portal. And together, they both run the Vocation and Evocation voiceover industry conferences. So both of these folks are super connected. They cover everything from tech to relationships in the business to FOMO. Two of the smartest people in our business, and you would do well, especially if you're newer in your career, to educate yourself with the VO Breakfast Show. Next up, the VO Booth Besties with Jen Greenfield, Alicia Bake, and Jen Tafoni, sort of the kind of the Charlie's Angels of voiceover, except all three of them are brunettes. Jen, Alicia, and Jen have built a huge following in a relatively short amount of time by focusing on educating people in the VO industry, especially newer talent, and by interviewing amazing guests. One of the best features of the VO Booth Besties podcast is their VO Demo Producers series, where they get into interviews with, yes, the better known, but also the lesser known demo producers in our business. So if you're working towards your first demo, or whether you're a vet getting ready to reproduce a demo or refresh a demo, you got to check that series out. Next up, Sound Advice with Kate McClanahan and Jeff Finney. I can't remember a time when I got into voiceover full time before I was listening to this podcast. It was one of the first podcasts I got turned on to. If you're serious about building a voiceover career, a voiceover business, you got to check this one out. Topics range from auditioning to branding to acting technique. Kate and Jeff have both been doing this for a long time, and they're a fountain of information on everything you need to run your voiceover business. Both of them have a real knack for breaking the complex stuff into simple, easy-to-understand terms, and I highly suggest you check it out. That's Sound Advice with Kate McClanahan and Jeff Finney. Next up, VO Sermons with the Right Reverend Terry Daniel. And Terry cuts right to the heart of the VO business. He's got a similar style to me. He kind of shoots from the hip and lets you know what's on his mind. He's an accomplished voice actor and voiceover coach running Universal Voice Talent. And if you dig a no BS approach, then you're going to like voiceover sermons. Terry tells it like it is. He doesn't hold back. And if you're new to the voiceover business, that's especially useful. And if you're a veteran, well, it's going to ring true for you. Next on the list, This Week in VO with the Honorable J. Michael Collins. For those of you that remember This Week in Baseball when I was a kid with Mel Allen, it's kind of the same premise. Every week, JMC, well, sometimes it's a guest host because let's face it, he's one of the busiest people in the business. Delves into topics that are super useful and relevant to the voiceover industry. Most of all, they're current. That's why it's called This Week in VO. Now, the great thing about JMC is because he's got his fingers in so many pies. Yes, that's a food analogy. He's got a unique perspective and as comprehensive a view of what's going on in this business as anybody out there. Most often, he'll interview another industry expert and they'll dive into industry trends, what's current and happening in the business, new technology, market shifts, you name it, it's on This Week in VO. Moving on, Atlanta Voiceover Studio with Heidi Rue and Mike Stout. For those of you that don't know, Atlanta VO Studio is run by Heidi and Mike. It is a physical brick and mortar studio. Both of them are extremely accomplished voice and, in Heidi's case, on camera talent, and they bring a lot to the podcast. Now, if you've never been exposed to Heidi and Mike, they're two of the sweetest people you could ever come across. They've got a super friendly style, and that comes through on the podcast. I really do think you'll enjoy it, and I think you'll learn a ton from it. It's the Atlanta VO Studio podcast with Heidi and Mike. If you like a super laid-back, chill approach, you're going to want to check out the VO Coffee Shop with my friend and colleague Andrew Morrison. Again, super casual, super laid-back, but he still attracts some of the biggest names in the voiceover industry. If you've never met Andrew Morrison, you're not going to meet a friendlier, more loving, kinder person, and that's the style that he brings, his authentic self, to the podcast. And the cool thing about that is, because he is so engaging and friendly, I think guests often open up to Andrew maybe a little bit more than they would maybe to folks like me. He tends to focus a little bit more on the human, the personal side of the business. So if that appeals to you, definitely check out the VO Coffee Shop with Andrew Morrison. VO Gurus with Linda Bruno. Man, VO Gurus has it all. A little bit of humor, a little bit of practical advice, a lot of wisdom to help voice actors navigate this crazy clown car of an industry. Linda's been a high-level voice actor since practically the earth cooled, right? The 1990s. She's been doing it that long. And so she brings not just a current, but also a historic perspective to the podcast. Decades of experience in a positive, friendly sort of package. Check out the VO Gurus with Linda Bruno. This next one is truly unique. The VO Roundtable with Emma O'Neill and Mike Tobin. And what makes the VO Roundtable quite a bit unique is the fact that it's recorded live on Clubhouse every week. And the great thing about that, of course, because of Clubhouse, is that makes it interactive. Every week they bring in a new industry vet or expert, and the topics range across the entire board for voiceover, tech, business, performance, you name it. Both Emma and Mike are big-time Canadian talents. They work a lot here in the U.S. Especially Emma is one of the most decorated VOs in recent history that I can ever recall. They are both the sweetest, most helpful people you'd ever want to come across. I highly recommend the VO Roundtable with Emma O'Neill and Mike Tobin. Next up, Speechless with Kim Wilson and Natasha Marchevka. Like this podcast, their podcast Speechless runs both on YouTube and on your favorite podcast platforms. The great thing about Speechless with Kim and Natasha is they bring a very woman-centric perspective to the business, empowering, insightful. So the guests most often, but not always, are women in the industry, and especially those women kicking ass and taking names. And let's face it, women have issues in this business and in any business that men do not face. So while the podcast is not specifically for women, men will enjoy it too and learn a lot. If you're a woman, I especially recommend Speechless with Natasha and Kim. This next one is just pure fun. Trivio Pursuits with Mark Ryder, Mandy Fisher, and Matt Baker. Trivio, or Tri-VO, depending on your perspective, takes its name from two things. First, having three great hosts. Second, they actually do sprinkle in trivia into the episodes. These are three heavy hitters in the business, and because of that, they bring a kind of trifecta of brilliant networks of people to talk to. And so you've got amazing guests like Joe Cipriano, Allison Packard, Mark Grau, Dave Fenoy, legends in the business. Think of Trivio Pursuits as trivia night meets your favorite VO industry podcast. Now, warning, they do have a ton of fun, so if you're allergic to fun, do not listen to this podcast. Next up, from across the pond, the VO Social. The VO Social was Originally hosted by Leah Marks and Nick Redman, it's now hosted by the formidable powerhouse duo of Rob and Helen B. If you don't know Helen and Rob is an accomplished audio engineer. He's a home studio guru for VOs, an accomplished producer, and Helen is an expert on branding, websites, and self-promotion for voice talent. So between the two of them, they cover a ton of ground. One of the things that's real apparent with the VO Social, and in talking to Rob and Helen, they're all about fostering a sense of community within this business. You know me, you know how much I value that stuff, and so I do everything I can to support the bees and the sense of community in the business that they're trying to foster. The VO Social publishes new episodes every first Tuesday of the month, like clockwork. Next on the list, Making Waves. Clever title, right? With Bobby Maxwell and Kevin Kilpatrick. Now, Making Waves is a rebranding of sorts of the podcast that used to be called the Middle Class VO Podcast, also with Kevin and Bobby. Now, the cool thing about this one is they have several recurring features on the podcast, like Nightmare Sessions, Identify the Audio, and the Cold Read Challenge. Again, great interviews, fun features. Bobby and Kevin have both been doing this for a very long time, and both are industry vets. I highly recommend Making Waves with Kevin and Bobby. And finally, with obvious bias, this podcast right here, VO Pro with me, Paul Schmidt. If we haven't met before, it's my pleasure. As I alluded to before, this podcast, if you don't already know, if you're listening to us on the audio podcast, you can watch us on YouTube. And if you've been watching on YouTube and didn't know we had an audio podcast, well, guess what? We're in both places. Now, here we focus mainly on the business of the voiceover business, right? Being a freelancer, being an entrepreneur, being a marketer, and how to market your business directly to clients. So we cover email marketing, websites, branding, mindset, freelancing, and account management. In other words, the stuff that's actually going to grow your voiceover business. And I don't like to brag, but I like to think that we have the lowest bullshit to facts ratio in the entire industry. Well, I guess that's for you to decide, but if you haven't guessed by now, I tend to shoot pretty much straight from the hip. I'm so glad to have you along as a follower on the audio podcast or as a subscriber on the YouTube channel. And if you get value out of our podcast episodes, whether it's audio or video, like, subscribe, follow the channel. Head on over to vopro.pro to get my Move, Touch, Inspire newsletter for voice actors that comes out every week. Join our VO Pro community or check out information on the VO Freedom Master Plan, which is our signature program to help you market your business more effectively and self-generate more opportunities for your business. Thanks so much for the conversations we have here on YouTube, on the VO Pro blog, and in the VO community at large. Again, the more we talk amongst ourselves, share information, treat each other kindly, and with respect, the better, more powerful, stronger business we will have for all of us. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again next week.